Today we're going to cover how to make your own soda at home. After being asked a million times how we do it, come up with quite a simple and repeatable process to make your own soda at home for about 40 cents a liter. That's real Diet Coke. My wife drinks Diet Coke, so we got tired of hauling containers back and forth from the store. Get tired of all the waste. So we invested in our Soda Stream. There's a couple of different versions. There's a white one. This is the other one that we got. Another one in the RV. Very similar. What we've been doing is buying bulk Diet Coke. 5 gallons of Diet Coke at a time. The spigot will be below. You need this with a special adapter. Also, after you do your first one, you'll want to take and cut one of these off of the bag for the bag and box. What this will allow you to do is open up the base of this in order to run water through it and clean it out successfully. This is set up here on purpose. This is how I fill my Bedex bottles. Link will be below. Very easy to do. Drain it right out of that into these twin necks, into these Bedex bottles. These are available from a bunch of different plastic suppliers. You hear the dog snoring in the background. Things you'll need will be that kit. That kit comes with a brand new Soda Stream 60 liter. They say 60 liter on them. They really don't make 60 liters, but pretty close. Depends on how fizzy you want your soda. There we go. These things are 2 liters. I mark them off. I think we're at 3 ounces on here, more or less. Once you figure out your flavor, you try different settings, and then usually I'll just make a mark on here. It's very, very easy. Leave this top screwed on tight. Take this one off completely. All you have to do is give it a squeeze till you measure out exactly how much you need. Completely based on your flavor settings. The other way to do it is to buy soda syrup from Soda Stream. This is $5. A cap full fills one of the liter bottles. I believe, haven't used it in some time. Generally what I'll do is transfer that to one of these smaller Bedex bottles that has a 1 ounce reservoir on the top. When I first got started with this, I bought a case of these little ones and a case of the big ones. I'll put them up on Amazon if there's any interest, but they don't sell these big ones on Amazon. There's only a guy that sells the smaller ones as some type of drink measuring tool. Or you can take and measure it out. That's how we did it at first. Find out what your flavor level is, so to speak. That's probably right around 3 ounces. And pour your syrup into that. Tried all different containers for handling the syrup. And let me tell you, by far, these Bedex bottles, twin neck bottles, are the only way to go. You'll need an assortment of bottles. These are the standard bottles. They've got a date on them. They're good for a couple of years. I've had these for more than a couple of years and haven't had a problem with any of them. There's another type of bottle that is dishwasher safe. These are theoretically dishwasher safe. We've run them through there before. Really, dishwasher safe, not a big deal. You can run these through the dishwasher, just don't heat them up. Hot water doesn't really bother them. If you run them through and let the heat run, you'll make some, see, we were doing that with these little ones. You'll make some modern art. This is the other size. These are the half-liter bottles. They use the same caps. We wind up with, we really don't use those anymore. What we do is, once we make a soda, we go to our red copper cups. There's nothing like these red copper cups. Not only do they not tip over, they only release when you pick them up. Got a little rubber gasket here on the bottom. Fantastic for in the RV. Set something on the counter, it stays there until you pull up. This has got a rubber seal on it. It's a little rubber seal inside here. Never really had a problem with that. We have had a couple of them wear out on this rubber seal, but they generally last about a year. As you can see, it seals very, very tightly. In fact, it seals so tight that if you leave it warm and you don't have the top on good, things will pop, and it'll pop the whole time. I only had that happen a couple of times over the years, but they really do. They hold the carbonation, and they'll keep your soda cold for the better part of a day, or your coffee hot. So instead of drinking out of these bottles, or drinking out of these bottles and having to wash them and clean them all the time, sanitize them, we drink out of these red copper cups that are very easy to clean. Probably have half a dozen of them around the house. Keep one out in the shop, one in the truck, etc., etc. Then I just carry these bottles, carry the full bottles with me. Here's the life hack. This is a Publix wine bag that I've taken and covered four of the bottles with plastic, then injected foam around them, and then pulled them out. I've kind of got a little cooler bag that I can easily carry several of these around in. Works pretty good. The beauty is you can mix your soda and your CO2 levels, your fizz, to whatever suits your stomach. The regular Diet Coke was bothering my wife's stomach. So, since she started using this, now she hasn't had any problems because we use less syrup and we use less carbonation. Wind up with an assortment of caps. We've got a little rubber ring in them. Get yourself a little pick, pop that out when you wash these. Clean up very, very easily. Also in this video, I'll cover how to fill your own Soda Stream CO2 bottles. This is one of them that I fill here at the house. Very, very easy to do. This one's an empty one, and this one's a full one. If you hold them, you can tell by weight how much they've got in them. And if they've got any type of CO2 in it, you won't hear anything. Here you hear the valve bouncing around in there. You've got the old ones. You've got these old ones. These are the newer ones. You've got the ones with the old valves. You don't have to worry about it. It's got a bigger button in there. You don't have to worry about the valve that's inside here. If you've got these newer ones, when we go to fill them, we have to fill them very, very, very slowly. It takes 2 or 3 minutes to get probably 30 to 40 liters worth of fizz out of them. And there's no reason to fill them all the way full. We have multiple bottles because we carry 3, 4 in the RV. Make sure that we've got CO2 with us. We have multiple Bedex bottles. Fill up. This lasts, I think we get probably 30, I suppose. 30 bottles out of this. So generally, I've got a cabinet here that has 1, 2, 3, has more of these in it. I only use now 2 of these. Keep them in the fridge and just rotate back and forth between them. Rinse them out once you go through a box. This box, 5 gallons, lasts us about a month. So up until I started filling our own CO2 containers, we're getting these from Bed Bath & Beyond or Target or wherever. They're generally about $15 a piece. We're going through probably 5 of these per this 5 gallons. Well, generally, yeah. And again, that's just kind of on the average. Depends on how much soda we're drinking. And these are kind of expensive, about $5 for that. But if you want a bunch of different flavors, kids drink cream soda. We'll get cream soda, ginger ale. Generally, it's easier to pour these into one of these smaller Bedex bottles. Now you have to do 2 or 3 fills of this to get the right ratio of syrup to water, but it keeps it fresh, keeps it fresher. And they say don't store this in the fridge. I do. I've always stored it in the fridge, never had any problems with the flavor. The beauty of using real Diet Coke, of course, is that the Diet Coke that you make at home is exactly the same as the Diet Coke that you get anywhere else. That's the same stuff the restaurants use. I buy it at Sam's Club. You can maybe get lucky and get it from a distributor. So let's get into the process. It's incredibly simple. We fill our bottles with tap water. Every time that I empty one, I will go and rinse it out, and probably once a week, I'll go and hit them with a bottle brush, clean it out, soap and water, if you got a bunch of them. So I try to do that at least once a week. Never had any problems with flavor or important thing is to put it in the fridge. They hold more carbonation when it's cold. You can carbonate the warm stuff. This takes more presses. The simplicity of this is snap it into there, push the button. Generally we go about 3 times. You kind of hear when it's bleeding off. That's our preferred level, so to speak. Take this, give it a squeeze, fill it up to that level. Piece of cake. You get your own fresh, homemade Diet Coke. Just like you'd get at a restaurant or anywhere else that serves it. So next I'll show you how to fill up the CO2 bottles themselves. Put this aside. To do that, you'll need this simple adapter. This is a Soda Stream fitting to the American Standard CO2 valve. Comes with Allen wrench if you need to use it for the back pressure valve that's in some CO2 tanks, and an assortment of washers. I have not had to change the washers out. There's a little rubber washer in there, a little rubber washer in there. Relief valve, good, not really needed. Seeing other people do videos on things like this, and because these CO2 bottles, you know what's on the side, it says beverage grade. We got into that into that discussion, food grade, beverage grade, etc., etc. Your gas company, basically get it from any place that brews beer. Might be a little bit more expensive, but you're guaranteed to get oil-free CO2. Other videos I've seen when I was setting this up, people would take this tank and hold it upside down, because if it doesn't have a dip tube in it, you don't get into, so this is probably liquid, this is probably gas. You just hook your bottle up to this. You're not going to get much into the bottle because it's just gas. So what we're going to do is, unless you've got a dip tube, the bigger bottles generally have it's a specialized thing. Most of them are going to be like this, so that way they output gas. So I just built this frame around it, so that way I can flip it back up and over. I put the bottom part on only because of the relief valve. You got a relief valve up here, and I don't know, and I couldn't find a really good answer as to whether or not it would be safe staying inverted all the time. I just made this little frame. This just actually sits out in the garage. I don't know how to describe it. I think it's about 19 inches long. Made a cutout in this piece and screwed it down to a piece of wood so that way it doesn't flounce around. Also, just to remember, I wrote on there which direction to turn it to open. Right, got a set of threads for the Soda Stream and a set of threads for the standard American. That is an important part. American, Australian, Japanese, they've all got different. Take our empty CO2 bottle, close, make sure this valve is closed. Just going to screw it down there until we can feel it and mesh down in the rubber. And then we're going to open it very slowly. If you open it too quickly, you'll slam this safety valve shut. That's, well, I call it some type of safety valve or overpressure valve, but it's really just designed so that way you can't film at home. We're just going to crack it. You can hear it. If you open it too quickly, it stops flowing. If you open it too quickly and it stops flowing, back it off. Back it off, let the pressure out, tighten it back down, just hand tight, just crack the valve. Until you can hear it. Now I leave these warm. If you want to get them completely full, they say put these in the fridge, get them as cold as possible. Since we interchange the bottles all the time, it really doesn't matter whether this has 60 liters worth or 40 liters worth or 30 liters worth or whatever, because we can just fill it up at home. Bottle costs, probably set you back about 60, 70 bucks. I'll put an Amazon link down there, but they're fairly inexpensive. They're really easy to get filled at any brewer or any gas company, anybody that sells CO2, argon, etc. Take a look at the cost savings real quick. I threw this together just to show how much it costs. This is a back of the napkin type of calculation. Completely approximate. Doesn't include your initial investment. So we started out with a Soda Stream, and we started out with a couple of bottles, and bought the bottles on sale, bought additional bottles on sale, bought the Bentix bottles. Basically out of a vending machine, a 20-ounce one's about 15.59 liters. They cost you about $1.89. That's about $3.20 a liter. So somewhere around $3 a liter out of a vending machine. Buy them at the supermarket, Walmart, etc. She usually drinks the 500 milliliter bottles or the cans, but we like to have the bottles because you can reseal them. 16.9, that's 500 milliliters. There's 6 of them in there. Gives you 3 liters at $3.33, $1.11 per liter. Now with the Soda Stream, generally I used to buy 5 CO2 exchanges, which would be 75 bucks, and a 5-gallon thing of syrup, which is somewhere around 90 bucks. Used to be able to get the 2.5-gallon ones. I love those, but nobody seems to stock them anymore. 5 gallons of syrup is 640 ounces. We use about 3 ounces per liter, so there's about 3 ounces in each one of those. After we carbonate it, we pour in there, we measure with the Bentix. That's about 220 liters of soda. Again, give or take a bit. Just to make the math easy, works out to about 75. I mean, your mileage will vary because you might like it thicker, you might like it thinner. Depends on how much CO2 you use, how much soda you use, etc. That's about 75 cents a liter. Now, if you go to filling your own CO2, you're going to cut out those exchanges completely. This is the way to do it. A 5-gallon tank of CO2 costs around 20 bucks. Depends, go from 15 to 40, realistically. So far, I don't know, after months, I haven't had to fill it up. I don't have any good information as to exactly how long that $20 will last you, but it's negligible. Even if you spread it out, if it took 2 fillings of that a year, You know, 40 bucks, it's only a couple dollars a month. It's only a couple dollars added into this. So realistically, we're going to wipe that out of our equation. 5 gallons of syrup, 90 bucks, 220 liters, about 42 cents a liter. Quite a difference between $3.20 a liter and 42 cents a liter. Now the important things are, I don't know if you can read them in the video, you don't have any waste of the soda. You only use exactly how much soda that you want. How many cans or bottles have you left laying around? The little bottles don't hold the carbonation at all. They just don't. So these will hold the carbonation. So when you pour into one of these, you're guaranteed to have a carbonated soda. If they get warm, throw the whole thing back in the fridge. Also on the bottles, if you use these to drink out of, etc., you know, they've got this nice rubber seal. It's got a rubber seal. That one's got a rubber seal. The O-ring was out of that one. It's got a nice rubber seal. Seals tight, keeps the carbonation in. Gets warm, throw it back in the fridge. No waste. No waste of the plastic bottles and cans. That's probably the biggest thing. My garbage has dropped off dramatically after we've been using this for a couple of years. We're almost full. You just don't have the waste. You're not constantly throwing away plastic bottles and cans. No hauling of fluid from the store. Why bring fluid from the store when you can get it out of the tap? Makes no sense at all. Heavy, buying cases of soda, it's nonsense. And saves time and gas. You're not running back and forth to the store. My wife drinks Diet Coke pretty much exclusively, so I was constantly running back and forth to the store. This has stopped flowing. Let's go ahead and turn it off. Now you can, if you'd like, see how much you have in here. Well, you could use a relief valve. Well, it really doesn't matter because it's just there's only a small in there. No reason to use it. And now you have a full, well, pretty much full. It's probably only 30 or 40 liters worth in here because this is warm. And I think from a safety standpoint, that's better to fill them not quite so full. We got multiple canisters. We can swap between them. Doesn't matter whether we get 30 or 40 or 20 out of them. But if you fill them all the way up when they're cold, then they're constantly sitting in the highest pressure that they could possibly be. CO2 likes to be cold. When it gets warm, it gets exciting. Now from a 3D printing standpoint, save these caps that come on the new ones. We got some exchanges. These were from, these were out in the RV. Save that white cap. Generally I was tossing them and I had to 3D print. I'll put a link in it, description, some caps for it. Just fit on there just to keep your threads clean. Or you can just leave a bottle up on here. You probably have an empty one. I'll just leave an empty one up on here. Keep a couple of them full. Leave an empty one up on there so that way when it sits, the inside threads all stay clean. FedEx bottles. I bought them from Plastic Place. You can, I can't get these on Amazon yet. You'll need some of these, regular bottles, as many as you'd like. Build up to it. Buy a few, try it. You'll need one of the Soda Stream machines. They come with a carbonator. They're 60 bucks, I suppose, 70 bucks. So it depends on how much soda you drink, is what your savings is going to be. If you like carbonated water, I mean, from a carbonation standpoint, you could put Crystal Light in there. You could put any other type of flavoring into your water. Do not carbonate something that has stuff in it, or you'll make a huge mess. If you put the syrup into the bottle before you carbonate it, you're going to have an exciting time because it's going to make a fizzy mess everywhere. Publix bags were great for transporting the bottles. These are Publix wine bags. This one's been repaired a few times with the 3D pen. That's what I use to carry the bottles back and forth. So generally, throughout my day, I've got a cup like this sitting out in the shop. I've got a cup like this in my truck, and there's one sitting at my desk. So then all I've got to do is grab a cold bottle of soda out of the fridge. And we're good to go. I really like these cups also because they've got a latch on them here. So actually where you're drinking from is pretty much always kept clean from anything floating around in the atmosphere, dust and dirt, etc. Very simple. Now, if anybody's got any questions, put them in the comments below. Generally, I've answered all of these questions about 3 dozen times or more in my life to people who were interested in Soda Streams. So I figured I'd put it all together into a single video that covered, well, pretty much everything. If you got any questions, throw them in the comments. If not, don't. Have a wonderful day.